The scent of freshly baked cinnamon rolls drifted through the crisp autumn air as Jennifer Hayes pushed open the glass door of Sweet Moments Bakery. Her 6-year-old son, Tyler, tugged at her jacket sleeve, his eyes wide with excitement at the display of colorful cupcakes arranged behind the gleaming counter. She smiled down at him, brushing a strand of his dark hair from his forehead, hair that reminded her of someone she'd spent 6 years trying to forget. "Can I get the one with the dinosaur on top, Mom?" Tyler's voice carried the pure enthusiasm only a child could muster on a Saturday morning. "We'll see, sweetheart," Jennifer replied, her attention caught by the warmth of the small bakery. It was tucked away on a quiet street in Portland, Oregon, far from the glittering world she'd once known. The exposed brick walls held local artwork, and mismatched wooden chairs surrounded intimate tables where couples and families enjoyed their breakfast. This was her world now, simple, honest, and safe. What Jennifer didn't know was that in the corner booth, partially hidden behind a newspaper, sat the man who had shattered her heart into 1,000 pieces 6 years ago. Marcus Donnelly, billionaire real estate developer and her ex-husband, had watched her walk in with a mixture of shock and something deeper, regret that had haunted him since the day she'd walked out of his penthouse with nothing but a suitcase and her dignity. Marcus lowered the newspaper slowly, his hands trembling slightly. She looked different. The designer clothes and perfectly styled hair were gone, replaced by worn jeans, a simple navy sweater, and hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. But she was still beautiful, perhaps more so now, with a softness in her features that hadn't been there during their marriage. And the boy. His heart constricted painfully. The child couldn't be more than 6 years old. Jennifer approached the counter, completely unaware of the piercing blue eyes watching her every move. The young woman behind the register greeted her warmly, clearly recognizing a regular customer. "Morning, Jenny. The usual." "Yes, please, Amanda. And Tyler here has been very good this week, so he's earned a special treat." Jennifer's voice carried a lightness that Marcus had never heard during their 2 turbulent years of marriage. She seemed genuinely happy, something she had rarely been with him. Tyler pressed his face against the glass display case, pointing at various pastries with the careful deliberation of someone making a life-changing decision. Jennifer laughed, a sound that hit Marcus like a physical blow. He remembered that laugh from their early days, before his obsession with building his empire had pushed everything else, including her, to the margins of his life. "That one, Mom, the T-Rex cupcake." Marcus watched as Jennifer paid for their order with cash counted carefully from a worn wallet. No black credit card, no casual swipe without checking the total. She had truly left everything behind. The realization made him feel simultaneously proud of her strength and ashamed of what he'd driven her to. As Jennifer and Tyler turned to find a table, Marcus made a split-second decision that would change everything. He stood up, his 6'2" frame drawing immediate attention in the small bakery. Their eyes met across the room, and he watched the color drain from her face. Jennifer. Her name came out rougher than he'd intended, weighted with 6 years of unspoken words. She froze, her hand instinctively moving to Tyler's shoulder in a protective gesture that didn't escape Marcus's notice. "Marcus." Her voice was barely above a whisper, but he heard the tremor in it. "What are you doing here? I could ask you the same question." He took a tentative step forward, then stopped when he saw her grip tighten on Tyler's shoulder. "I'm in Portland for a development project. I needed coffee, and this place was recommended by my assistant." The lie came easily, though the truth was more complicated. He'd been coming to this bakery every morning for the past week, ever since he'd glimpsed her through the window during a site inspection nearby. He told himself it was coincidence, that he wasn't actively seeking her out, but deep down he knew better. Tyler looked up at his mother with confusion. "Mom? Who's that?" Jennifer's jaw tightened, and Marcus saw a flash of the fire he'd once loved, before she'd learned to bank it in favor of keeping peace in their fractured marriage. "An old acquaintance, honey. Why don't you go pick us a table by the window?" As Tyler scampered off, Jennifer took a step closer to Marcus, her voice low and fierce. "You need to leave. Now." "Jennifer, please. I just want to talk." "Talk?" Her laugh was bitter, nothing like the genuine joy he'd heard moments ago. We did enough talking 6 years ago, Marcus. Or rather, I talked and you worked. I begged and you ignored. I left and you did nothing. The accusation stung because it was true. When she'd filed for divorce, he'd been in the middle of the biggest deal of his career. The acquisition of 3 major properties in Seattle that would cement his status among the city's elite developers. He'd barely glanced at the papers before signing them, telling himself she'd come back once she calmed down. She never did. I made mistakes, Marcus said, aware of how inadequate the words were. Terrible mistakes. But I've changed, Jennifer. These past 6 years, I don't care. She cut him off, her voice sharp. I don't care if you've changed, if you've found religion, if you've climbed Everest or given away your fortune. That part of my life is over. I have a son now. I have a life, and I won't let you disrupt it. Marcus felt as though she'd struck him. A son. Is he couldn't finish the question, couldn't bear to hear the answer either way. Jennifer's eyes flashed with understanding, then anger. No, Marcus. Tyler isn't yours. I adopted him 2 years ago as a single mother. After our marriage, I discovered I couldn't have biological children, a fact I learned alone, without a husband to support me, because you were too busy closing deals to notice I'd been to 3 doctor appointments in 1 week. The words hit him like bullets, each one finding its mark. He'd known their marriage had been troubled, had known he'd been absent and focused on work to an unhealthy degree. But standing here now, seeing the evidence of all he'd missed, all he'd destroyed, the full weight of his failures crashed over him. Jennifer, I'm so sorry. If I could go back. But you can't. She glanced over at Tyler, who was swinging his legs under the table and humming to himself, blissfully unaware of the adult drama unfolding. And honestly, I wouldn't want you to, because then I wouldn't have him, and he's the best thing that ever happened to me. The finality in her voice should have sent him walking away. Instead, it made him more determined. Let me buy you coffee, both of you. Just 5 minutes, please. Jennifer studied him for a long moment, and he could see her internal debate playing across her features. Finally, she sighed. 5 minutes. But only because Tyler needs to eat his cupcake before we go to the park, and I don't want to upset him by leaving abruptly. It was a thin excuse, and they both knew it. But Marcus seized the opportunity. As they walked toward Tyler's table, Marcus noticed the boy's sharp, intelligent eyes assessing him with the caution of a child who'd learned to be protective of his mother. Tyler, this is, Mr. Donnelly. He's going to join us for a few minutes. Nice to meet you, Mr. Donnelly, Tyler said with surprising politeness, extending a small hand that Marcus shook carefully, as if the boy were made of glass. Please call me Marcus, and it's very nice to meet you, Tyler. Your mom tells me you've been very good this week, Tyler beamed. I got a gold star every day in 1st grade, and I helped Mrs. Patterson, she's our neighbor, carry her groceries without Mom even asking me to. Marcus felt a strange ache in his chest. This child, raised by Jennifer alone, showed the kind of thoughtfulness and character that money couldn't buy. She'd done an incredible job, all while he'd been building towers of steel and glass, convinced that success could fill the void her absence had left. As they sat down, Amanda brought over Marcus's forgotten coffee and a fresh cup for Jennifer. The next few minutes were simultaneously the longest and shortest of Marcus's life. He learned that Jennifer worked as a freelance graphic designer, that she and Tyler lived in a small apartment 3 blocks from the bakery, that Tyler loved dinosaurs and wanted to be a paleontologist. He learned that her favorite color was still blue, that she took her coffee with less sugar than she used to, and that when she laughed at something Tyler said, she still crinkled her nose the same way. What he didn't learn, what she carefully avoided discussing, was whether there was someone else in her life. No ring graced her finger, but that meant nothing in today's world. We should go, Jennifer said finally, checking her watch. Tyler has a playdate at noon. Marcus nodded, knowing he couldn't push for more time, but as they stood to leave, he found himself speaking before his rational mind could stop him. I'm in Portland for the next month, for the Riverside Development Project. I'd like to see you again, both of you. Jennifer's expression hardened. That's not a good idea. Please. Not as what we were. Just as friends. Let me make up for lost time, even if it's just in some small way. Mom, I really need to use the bathroom, Tyler interrupted, shifting from foot to foot. It's in the back, sweetheart. Go ahead. I'll wait here. As Tyler disappeared toward the restrooms, Jennifer turned to Marcus with exhaustion in her eyes. You can't just walk back into my life because you're feeling guilty or nostalgic. I worked too hard to build something stable for myself and for Tyler. He doesn't need confusion, and neither do I. I understand, but what if I'm not trying to walk back into your life? What if I just want to be part of it, in whatever way you'll allow? No pressure, no expectations, just a chance to be better than I was. Jennifer bit her lip, a gesture he recognized as her thinking hard about something. Why now, Marcus? Why after 6 years? Because, he said honestly, I was a coward for 6 years. I told myself you were better off without me, that you'd moved on, that reaching out would be selfish. But seeing you here, seeing how you've thrived without me, it made me realize that staying away wasn't noble. It was just easier than facing what I'd lost. Before Jennifer could respond, Tyler returned, chattering about the funny soap dispenser in the bathroom. She took his hand, and Marcus saw her make a decision in real time, watching the walls come up in her eyes. Goodbye, Marcus. She walked toward the door, Tyler's small hand in hers, and Marcus felt the moment slipping away. But then, just as she reached the exit, she turned back. The park, Laurelhurst Park. We'll be there tomorrow at 10. If you happen to be there too, well, it's a public park. Then she was gone, the door closing behind her with a soft chime, leaving Marcus standing alone in the bakery with a cold cup of coffee and the first real hope he'd felt in 6 years. Marcus arrived at Laurelhurst Park 15 minutes early, a bouquet of wildflowers in one hand, and a bag from the city's best toy store in the other. He'd spent 2 hours the previous evening researching dinosaur toys appropriate for 6-year-olds, finally settling on a detailed velociraptor model that the sales associate promised was a favorite among young paleontology enthusiasts. Now, standing near the duck pond in his deliberately casual attire, jeans and a sweater that probably cost more than Jennifer's monthly rent, he felt absurdly nervous. The morning sun filtered through the golden leaves of oak trees, casting dappled shadows across the walking paths. Families scattered across the grass, children's laughter mixing with the distant sound of ducks quacking. Marcus checked his watch for the third time. 9:58. You're early. Jennifer's voice came from behind him, and he turned to find her approaching with Tyler, who was wearing a bright red jacket and carrying a small backpack shaped like a stegosaurus. She looked wary, but not hostile, which Marcus took as progress. Punctuality is important, he said, then immediately felt foolish. Of course she knew that. She'd spent 2 years waiting for him to be punctual to dinners, events, even their anniversary. Tyler spotted the toy store bag and his eyes lit up. Is that for me? Tyler, manners, Jennifer chided gently, but Marcus saw her curious glance at the flowers. Actually, yes, I heard you like dinosaurs. Marcus knelt down to Tyler's level, pulling out the carefully wrapped velociraptor. This is one of the smartest dinosaurs that ever lived. I thought you might like it. Tyler's gasp of delight was worth every penny of the ridiculously expensive toy. He turned to his mother with pleading eyes. Can I, Mom? Please? Jennifer hesitated, and Marcus saw the conflict in her expression. Accepting gifts from him meant acknowledging his presence in their lives, creating a precedent she clearly wasn't ready for. But disappointing Tyler over her own pride seemed equally difficult. What do you say to Mr. Donnelly? She finally conceded. Thank you. Tyler hugged the box to his chest. This is the coolest thing ever. Did you know velociraptors were actually about the size of a turkey, not like in the movies? Marcus grinned. I did not know that. You're already teaching me things. As Tyler ran ahead to a nearby bench to examine his new treasure more closely, Marcus stood and offered the wildflowers to Jennifer. These are for you. I remember you always said roses were too formal, that you preferred flowers that looked like they grew wild. Jennifer took the bouquet slowly, bringing it to her nose. For a moment, her guard dropped, and he saw something soft in her eyes. You remember that? I remember more than you think, Marcus said quietly. I just didn't pay attention when it mattered. They walked toward a bench where they could keep Tyler in view. The boy had already opened the toy and was making it hunt through the grass, complete with enthusiastic sound effects. "He's wonderful," Marcus said. "You've done an amazing job with him." "Don't." Jennifer's voice was sharp. "Don't compliment my parenting as if you have any reference point for it. You don't know what it took to get here, Marcus." He absorbed the blow, knowing he deserved it. "You're right. I don't. But I'd like to understand if you're willing to tell me." Jennifer was quiet for a long moment, watching Tyler play. When she finally spoke, her voice was softer, tinged with memory. "After the divorce, I was a mess. I moved to Portland because it was far enough from Seattle to feel like a fresh start, but close enough that I didn't completely lose myself. I got a small apartment, took freelance jobs, and tried to figure out who I was without being Mrs. Marcus Donnelly." Marcus winced at the bitterness in the title, but she continued. "About a year after the divorce, I was volunteering at a children's hospital, partly because my therapist suggested it, partly because I needed something to make me feel useful. That's where I met Tyler." Her expression transformed, filling with a love so profound it made Marcus's chest ache. He was 4 years old in foster care, recovering from pneumonia. His birth parents had abandoned him when he was 2, and he'd been bounced between homes ever since. He was this tiny, scared little boy who flinched every time someone raised their voice. She paused, wiping at her eyes quickly. "I started visiting him specifically, bringing books and toys. Then I'd take him to the park once he was healthy enough. His foster family at the time was kind but overwhelmed with other children. Tyler and I just connected. When I found out I couldn't have biological children, it felt like a sign. So I started the adoption process. It took 18 months of home studies, paperwork, and proving I could provide a stable home as a single mother. But it was worth every sleepless night and bureaucratic nightmare." Marcus found himself struggling with emotions he hadn't felt in years, grief for what Jennifer had gone through alone, admiration for the strength it must have taken, and a profound sense of loss for not being there, for not being the partner she deserved during the hardest moments of her life. "I'm sorry," he said, knowing the words were inadequate. "I'm so sorry, Jennifer, for all of it." She looked at him directly for the first time since they'd sat down. "Why are you really here, Marcus? And don't tell me it's just to apologize. You could have done that years ago with a phone call or a letter." He'd been dreading this question, knowing that honesty might drive her away, but that anything less would be disrespectful to what they'd once shared. "Because 6 years ago, when you left, I told myself I was relieved that I could finally focus on work without the distraction of a failing marriage. I threw myself into building the company, making deals, acquiring properties. I became exactly what I'd always wanted to be: successful, wealthy, powerful, and lonely," Jennifer supplied, a hint of knowing in her voice. "Empty," Marcus corrected. "There's a difference. Lonely suggests you want company. Empty means you've hollowed yourself out so completely that you don't even know what you're missing anymore." He watched Tyler, who was now making his velociraptor chase imaginary prey. "It wasn't until about a year ago that I started realizing something was wrong. I was at a gala, celebrating the opening of a new high-rise I'd developed. Everyone was congratulating me, and all I could think about was how you would have hated the pretentiousness of it all, how you would have snuck out with me to get pizza from that place near our apartment." Jennifer's lips twitched in what might have been a smile. "Antonio's. That place had the best margarita pizza. It's still there. I went back once, about 3 years ago. Sat alone in a booth and realized I couldn't even enjoy it without you there to steal half my slice. I didn't steal. You always offered." The casual nature of the exchange felt both familiar and foreign, like speaking a language you'd once been fluent in, but had nearly forgotten. Marcus felt something loosen in his chest. "I hired a private investigator," he admitted, watching her carefully for her reaction. 6 months ago, I told myself I just wanted to know if you were okay, but the truth was I needed to know if you'd moved on, if you were happy. When he reported that you were living in Portland, working as a designer, and that you had adopted a son, I told myself that was enough, that I should leave you in peace." Jennifer's jaw tightened. "But you didn't." "No, because 3 weeks ago, I had to come to Portland for the Riverside development. And I told myself I wouldn't look for you, that it was a city of over 500,000 people. What were the chances? But then I was driving through your neighborhood for a site survey, and I saw you through the bakery window, laughing with Tyler. And everything I'd been telling myself for 6 years just shattered. So you've been stalking me at the bakery for 3 weeks? There was an edge to her voice, but also something that might have been reluctant amusement. 1 week. And it wasn't stalking exactly. More like strategic coffee consumption in the hopes of an accidental meeting. That's literally the definition of stalking, Marcus. He had the grace to look embarrassed. When you put it that way, it does sound bad. I'm sorry. I should have just approached you the first day instead of lurking like some kind of creepy ex-husband. You are a creepy ex-husband, Jennifer said. But there was less venom in it than before. Tyler came running over, his velociraptor clutched in both hands. Mom, can Mr. Marcus push me on the swings, please? Jennifer opened her mouth, clearly ready to refuse, but Marcus saw the plea in Tyler's eyes. The boy was starved for male attention, he realized. A single mother could provide love, stability, everything a child needed, but Tyler was obviously drawn to having a father figure, even temporarily. If your mom says it's okay, Marcus said carefully, not wanting to undermine her authority. Jennifer looked between them, then sighed. 20 minutes, then we have to go. Tyler has a reading group at the library. As Tyler grabbed Marcus's hand and pulled him toward the playground, Marcus glanced back at Jennifer. She was watching them with an expression he couldn't quite read, hope mixed with fear, longing mixed with protection. He understood it perfectly, because he felt the same way. The next 20 minutes were a revelation. Marcus pushed Tyler on the swings, spotted him on the monkey bars, and learned more about first-grade social dynamics than he'd ever imagined existed. Tyler was bright, funny, and surprisingly perceptive for a 6-year-old. Do you like my mom? Tyler asked suddenly as they sat on a bench, sharing a water bottle Jennifer had produced from her bag. Marcus nearly choked. That's a complicated question, buddy. My friend Caleb says when adults say things are complicated, it means yes, but they don't want to admit it. Caleb sounds very wise. Tyler grinned. He's 7, so he knows a lot more than me. Marcus laughed, then grew serious. I think your mom is an amazing person, but we knew each other a long time ago, and I didn't treat her as well as I should have. So now she's not sure if we can be friends. You should apologize, Tyler said matter-of-factly. When I'm mean to someone, Mom makes me apologize and then do something nice to show I really mean it. That's excellent advice. What kind of nice things do you usually do? Well, once I accidentally broke Caleb's crayon, so I gave him my special sparkly blue one. And when I said something mean to Mom because I was tired, I made her a card with all the reasons I love her. Marcus felt his throat tighten. This child, who'd been abandoned and shuffled through foster homes, had learned empathy and kindness that many adults never achieved. Jennifer had given him that, had created a safe space for him to flourish. I think your mom is very lucky to have you, Marcus said. I'm lucky to have her too, Tyler replied seriously. She saved me. As they walked back to where Jennifer was waiting, Marcus made a decision. Whatever it took, however long it required, he would prove to both of them that he'd changed. Not to win Jennifer back, that might be impossible, and perhaps he didn't deserve it anyway, but to be part of their lives in whatever capacity she'd allow, because this child deserved every positive influence he could get, and Jennifer deserved to have someone support her for once, instead of taking from her. Time to go, Jennifer announced, standing and gathering their things. Thank Tyler for his company, please. Thank you for letting me play with you, Tyler, Marcus said formally, shaking the boy's hand again. Can we do this again? Tyler asked, looking between Marcus and his mother with hopeful eyes. Jennifer's expression was conflicted, but Marcus saw her resolve wavering. Finally, she said, We'll see, honey. We'll see. As they walked away, Tyler turned back and waved enthusiastically. Marcus waved back, watching until they disappeared around a bend in the path. His phone buzzed with messages from his assistant about the Riverside project. But for the first time in his professional career, Marcus ignored them. Instead, he sat back down on the bench and thought about what Tyler had said. An apology. and something nice to show he meant it. The apology had been made, was being made, would continue to be made, but the something nice, that required more thought. By the time he left the park an hour later, Marcus had the beginnings of a plan. It was risky, possibly foolish, and might blow up in his face spectacularly. But Tyler's wisdom echoed in his mind. When you've hurt someone, you have to show them you mean it. And Marcus Donnelly, for all his faults, had never done anything halfway in his life. The following Tuesday, Jennifer was working at her laptop in her small apartment when her phone rang. The number was unfamiliar but local, so she answered. "Ms. Hayes, this is Patricia Reynolds from the Community Arts Center. I'm calling about the graphic design position you applied for 3 months ago." Jennifer's heart skipped. She'd applied for that job back in August, a part-time position that would provide steady income and benefits, while still allowing her freelance work. When weeks passed without a response, she'd assumed they'd gone with someone else. "Yes, I remember. I thought the position had been filled. We had selected another candidate, but they accepted a job elsewhere. Your portfolio was our second choice, and we were very impressed with your work. Would you be available to come in for an interview this Thursday at 2? After confirming the details and hanging up, Jennifer allowed herself a moment of excitement before reality set in. The job would be perfect. Close to home, good hours, creative work that aligned with her values. But the timing felt suspicious. The application had been gathering dust for months, and suddenly, less than a week after Marcus reappeared, she gets a call? She pushed the thought aside, refusing to let paranoia ruin a genuine opportunity. Marcus might be manipulative in business, but surely he wouldn't stoop to interfering in her career. Besides, he had no way of knowing she'd even applied for this position. Thursday's interview went exceptionally well. Patricia was warm and enthusiastic. The creative director loved her portfolio, and the office environment felt welcoming. By the time Jennifer left, she felt cautiously optimistic. They promised to call by Monday with a decision. That Saturday, Marcus appeared at the bakery again. Jennifer had half expected it, though she'd told herself she wouldn't come. Yet here she was with Tyler, ordering their usual breakfast, when she felt his presence before she even saw him. "Morning," he said softly, coming to stand beside them in line. "I was hoping I'd see you." Tyler's face lit up. "Marcus, did you come to play at the park again?" Jennifer opened her mouth to discourage the familiarity, but Marcus knelt down to Tyler's level first. "I'd love to, if your mom says it's okay, but I actually came to ask both of you something first." "What?" Tyler asked, bouncing slightly with excitement. Marcus pulled 2 tickets from his jacket pocket. "There's a dinosaur exhibit at the Portland Museum of Natural History. It just opened last week, and I thought maybe you'd like to go. Both of you," he added quickly, meeting Jennifer's eyes. "This afternoon, if you're free." Jennifer's immediate instinct was to refuse. Accepting gifts, spending time together at the park was one thing. Those could be explained as chance encounters, casual kindness. But a planned outing felt like crossing a line she wasn't ready to cross. "Please, Mom?" Tyler's voice was pure longing. "We were going to go eventually anyway, remember? You said when we saved enough." That was true. The museum had been on their list for months, but the admission cost for both of them wasn't trivial on her budget. Jennifer felt trapped between her pride and her son's hopeful face. "We can't keep accepting expensive gifts from you, Marcus," she said quietly, aware of Tyler listening. "It's not appropriate." "Then consider it payment," Marcus countered. "Tyler taught me something important last weekend. About kindness, about making amends. I'd like to spend more time with him, with both of you, as friends." The word friends hung between them, inadequate and loaded with history. But Jennifer saw the sincerity in his eyes, and more importantly, she saw Tyler's excitement. She'd spent 4 years building a stable, happy life for her son. Was she really going to deny him experiences because of her complicated feelings about her ex-husband? "Okay," she heard herself say, "but we split the cost of lunch, and this doesn't become a regular thing." Marcus's smile could have powered the city. "Deal. And Jennifer, thank you." The museum was spectacular. Tyler was in heaven, racing from exhibit to exhibit with boundless energy, while Marcus and Jennifer followed at a more sedate pace. Marcus proved surprisingly knowledgeable about dinosaurs. He'd clearly done research, and engaged Tyler in conversations about the Mesozoic era, continental drift, and extinction theories. Jennifer found herself relaxing despite her reservations. This version of Marcus, patient, attentive, genuinely interested in a child's enthusiasm, was someone she'd rarely seen during their marriage. He'd always been charming in public, brilliant in boardrooms, but this felt different, more real. "Did you study paleontology in college?" she asked during a moment when Tyler was engrossed in an interactive fossil dig. Marcus laughed. "No, I spent last night reading everything I could find online. I wanted to be able to keep up with him. He's incredibly bright, Jennifer. His questions are so thoughtful. He reads constantly. We go to the library twice a week. You've given him such a solid foundation. Love of learning, curiosity, empathy. Those are gifts worth more than anything money can buy." Jennifer studied him carefully. "You've changed. Or maybe I just never knew this version of you." "Both, probably," Marcus admitted. They sat on a bench while Tyler examined a triceratops skeleton. "After you left, I spent about 2 years telling myself I was fine. Then another year slowly realizing I wasn't. The last 3 years have been about trying to figure out who I am when I'm not just chasing the next deal, the next acquisition, the next zero in my bank account. And? Who are you?" He was quiet for a long moment. "I'm still figuring that out, but I know I'm someone who deeply regrets hurting you. Someone who wants to be better. Someone who sees you with Tyler and realizes what an incredible mother you are, what an incredible person you've always been, and feels ashamed that I was too blind and self-absorbed to appreciate it when I had the chance." Jennifer felt tears prick her eyes, but blinked them back. "Marcus, I need you to understand something. I'm not the same person I was either. I'm not the young woman who married you thinking love would be enough, who made herself smaller and quieter to avoid conflict, who waited by the phone hoping you'd remember our anniversary dinner. That woman is gone. I know, and I'm glad." He turned to face her fully. "You're stronger now, more confident. You built a life on your own terms, raised an incredible child, created something meaningful. I don't want that old Jennifer back, even if I could have her. I just want to know this, Jennifer, if she'll let me." Before she could respond, Tyler came running over. "Mom, they have a workshop where you can make your own fossil imprint. Can we do it? Please?" The workshop was delightful chaos. 15 children and their parents crowded around tables covered with clay, plastic dinosaur bones, and enthusiastic mess-making. Tyler worked intently on his fossil, tongue poking out in concentration, while Marcus helped him press a small velociraptor claw into the clay at just the right angle. Jennifer captured the moment on her phone, Marcus's large hands guiding Tyler's smaller ones, both of them completely focused on their task. Something shifted in her chest, a dangerous softening she'd been fighting all day. After the museum, they went for pizza at a casual restaurant Tyler chose. Over pepperoni slices and root beer, Tyler regaled them with facts he'd learned, his excitement bubbling over. "Did you know that some dinosaurs had feathers? And that birds are actually living dinosaurs? So when we eat chicken, we're kind of eating dinosaurs." Marcus played along perfectly, asking questions and showing genuine fascination. Jennifer watched them interact and felt the walls she'd built around her heart develop small cracks. As they walked back to Jennifer's car, Tyler yawned widely. The day's excitement was catching up with him. "Thank you for today," Jennifer said to Marcus as Tyler climbed into his car seat. "He'll remember this for the rest of his life." "So will I," Marcus said quietly. Then, hesitantly, "Jennifer, I got a call from my assistant yesterday. The Riverside Development Project is running ahead of schedule. I'll need to return to Seattle in 2 weeks instead of 4. Jennifer told herself the disappointment she felt was for Tyler's sake, not her own. "I see. I was wondering, could I see you both again before I leave? Maybe next weekend?" She should say no, should protect herself and Tyler from the inevitable goodbye that would hurt them both. But Tyler's sleepy smile from the back seat, the lingering warmth of the day, and the genuine regret in Marcus's eyes weakened her resolve. "Call me," she heard herself say. We'll figure something out. That night, after tucking Tyler into bed, where he fell asleep clutching his fossil and his velociraptor toy, Jennifer sat alone in her small living room and finally allowed herself to cry. Not because she was sad, exactly, but because everything felt so complicated. Marcus's reappearance had disrupted the careful peace she'd constructed, awakening feelings she'd thought long buried. Her phone buzzed with a text message. Marcus, thank you for today, for taking a chance on me. I know I don't deserve it. Sleep well. She stared at the message for a long time before typing back. Tyler had fun. That's what matters. But as she got ready for bed, she couldn't shake the memory of Marcus's laugh when Tyler told him he was eating dinosaurs, or the gentle way he'd helped her son with the clay, or the raw honesty in his eyes when he'd talked about his regrets. Jennifer had spent 6 years building walls to protect herself from hurt. But walls that kept pain out also kept other things out. Possibility. Second chances. The complicated messiness of human connection. As she drifted to sleep, she didn't yet know that Marcus's reappearance was about to transform her life in ways she couldn't imagine. What she did know was that for the first time since the divorce, she was considering the dangerous possibility that people could change, that the past didn't have to dictate the future, and that maybe, just maybe, she could risk her heart one more time. On Monday morning, Patricia from the Community Arts Center called. Jennifer, we'd like to offer you the position. Your work is exceptional, and everyone who met you was impressed. Can you start in 2 weeks? Jennifer accepted immediately, her mind racing with logistics and excitement. After hanging up, she allowed herself a moment of pure joy. A stable job with benefits, creative work she loved, and the security to provide better for Tyler. Everything was falling into place. She was about to call her best friend Melissa to share the news when another call came through. This time the number looked official. Ms. Hayes, this is Robert Chen from Mountain West Bank. I'm calling about a rather unusual situation regarding your mortgage application from last year. Jennifer's stomach dropped. She'd applied for a small home loan 12 months ago, hoping to buy a modest house for her and Tyler. The application had been denied. Her income as a freelancer wasn't stable enough. She'd made peace with renting. I'm not sure I understand. That application was rejected. Yes, well, we've had a benefactor come forward willing to co-sign your loan and provide a substantial down payment as a gift. The offer is quite generous, and if you're still interested in the property on Maple Street, which is still available, we could move forward immediately. Jennifer's hands began to shake. Who is this benefactor? There was a pause. I'm not at liberty to say. They've requested anonymity, but everything is legitimate and legally sound. You'd own the home outright, with manageable monthly payments well within your new salary range. After the call ended, Jennifer sat in stunned silence. Then fury began to build. She knew exactly who the anonymous benefactor was, and she was going to kill him. She grabbed her phone and scrolled to Marcus's number, her thumb hovering over the call button, but before she could press it, a text from him appeared. Before you get angry, and I know you're angry, please meet me at the bakery tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock. I can explain everything. Please, Jennifer, give me a chance to explain. Jennifer arrived at the bakery at 9:45, too angry to wait. Marcus was already there, sitting at the same corner booth where this had all begun. He looked tired, as if he hadn't slept, and stood immediately when he saw her storm through the door. How dare you? She said without preamble, her voice low but shaking with fury. How dare you manipulate my life like this? Can we sit down, please? No, you're going to explain right now why you think you have any right to interfere with my job, my home, my entire future without even asking me. Marcus glanced around at the other customers, then gestured toward the door. Can we at least take a walk? I don't want an audience for this conversation. Reluctantly, Jennifer followed him outside. The morning was cool, clouds threatening rain, matching her stormy mood perfectly. They walked in tense silence for half a block before Marcus finally spoke. I didn't get you the job. I swear to you, Jennifer. I had nothing to do with the Community Arts Center calling you. And the house? The mysterious benefactor who just happens to want to give me everything I've been working toward for years? He had the grace to look ashamed. That was me. But before I what? Before I tell you to go to hell? Before I tell you that I don't need or want your charity? Jennifer stopped walking, forcing him to face her. Do you have any idea how insulting this is? I've spent 6 years proving to myself that I could make it on my own, that I didn't need your money or your name or anything from you, and you just swoop in and try to buy your way back into my life? That's not what I'm doing. Marcus ran his hands through his hair in frustration. God, Jennifer, I'm doing this all wrong. I always do everything wrong with you. Then explain it to me. Make me understand why you thought this was acceptable. Marcus took a deep breath, and when he spoke again, his voice was calmer but filled with emotion. When you mentioned Tyler's adoption, how hard it was to prove you could provide a stable home as a single mother, something clicked for me. I remembered you talking about wanting to buy a house, give him a yard to play in, a neighborhood with good schools. And I realized I could help with that, not to control you, not to buy my way back into your life, but because I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes, and you're struggling for things that would be easy for me to provide. That doesn't give you the right— I know, he interrupted gently. I know it doesn't. And I handled it completely wrong by going behind your back. I should have talked to you first, asked if you'd be open to help, but I was afraid you'd say no out of pride, and Tyler would suffer for it. Jennifer felt her anger waver slightly. Don't bring Tyler into this as justification. I'm not. I'm being honest about my thought process, flawed as it was. Marcus looked at her with such raw honesty that she had to look away. The truth is, I wanted to do something meaningful, something that mattered, and helping you and Tyler felt like the first truly good thing I've done in years that wasn't about profit or ego or building my empire. You can't just fix everything with money, Marcus. That's what destroyed our marriage in the first place. You thought working more, earning more, providing more material things was the same as actually being present. It's not. You're absolutely right. And that's not what this is about anymore. He took a step closer, his voice dropping. Jennifer, I need to tell you something. The Riverside Development Project, it's been done for a week. My team finished the preliminary surveys and assessments days ago. I've been lying to you about why I'm still in Portland. Jennifer's breath caught. What? I stayed because I couldn't leave. Because for the first time in 6 years, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Not in a boardroom or at a construction site, but at a park pushing a 6-year-old on a swing. At a museum watching him learn. In a bakery drinking coffee and talking to you like we used to before everything fell apart. Marcus, I'm in love with you, Jennifer. I never stopped. I buried it, ignored it, tried to kill it with work and distance and pride. But it never went away. His voice broke slightly, and I know I have no right to that feeling. I know I destroyed what we had through my own selfishness and neglect. I know you've built a beautiful life without me, and you don't need me disrupting it. But I had to tell you because I'm tired of lying, tired of pretending, tired of living half a life because I'm too afraid to risk rejection. Jennifer stood frozen, her mind reeling. Part of her wanted to run, to protect herself from the possibility of being hurt again. But another part, the part she'd been trying to silence for 2 weeks, wanted to stay, to listen, to consider the impossible. You broke my heart, she whispered. Do you understand that? When I left you, I was so shattered I didn't know if I'd ever be whole again. It took years of therapy, of building myself back up piece by piece. And now you show up and want me to risk that again? No, Marcus said firmly. I don't want you to risk anything. I want to prove to you that I've changed, that I can be the partner you deserved 6 years ago. I want to earn your trust back, however long that takes. And if at the end of it you still don't want me in your life romantically, I'll accept that. But I'm not giving up on at least being your friend, being someone Tyler can count on, being someone who shows up when he matters. When he matters? Jennifer felt fresh tears spring to her eyes. When did you start caring about showing up? The day I saw you in that bakery and realized what I'd lost. The day Tyler shook my hand and looked at me with complete innocence, trusting that adults would keep their promises. The day you told me about your struggles, and I understood that my absence hadn't just hurt you. It had made your life actively harder. He reached out as if to touch her face, then dropped his hand. I can't change the past. God knows I would if I could, but I can change the future, if you'll let me. Jennifer turned away, walking a few steps before stopping. The rain that had been threatening finally began to fall, light drops that matched the tears on her cheeks. The house thing. You have to undo it. Jennifer, no, listen. If, and this is a massive if, we're going to explore any kind of relationship, it has to be on equal footing. I won't be the charity case you rescue. I won't let Tyler grow up thinking love means one person having all the power and all the money, while the other person just accepts it gratefully. Marcus was quiet for a moment. What if it wasn't a gift? What if I invested in your graphic design business instead? You're talented enough to expand, take on bigger clients. You could hire other designers, build something substantial. I'd be a silent partner. You'd maintain complete creative control. Any profit I make gets put into a trust for Tyler's education. Jennifer turned back to face him, surprised. You've really thought about this. I've thought about nothing else for 2 weeks. Rain was soaking through his sweater, but he didn't seem to notice. I've thought about what kind of man I want to be, what kind of life I want to live, and every version of that future that makes me happy has you and Tyler in it. I need time, Jennifer said finally. This is all happening so fast, and I have Tyler to think about. He's already getting attached to you, and if you disappear from his life, it will hurt him. I won't disappear. I promise you that, Jennifer. Whether we're together or not, I will be there for Tyler if you'll let me. He deserves stability, consistency, people who show up for him. Marcus's voice was thick with emotion. I failed you, but I won't fail him. I swear it. Jennifer studied him through the rain, searching his face for any sign of the man who had put business before everything else, who had forgotten anniversaries and missed dinners and slowly crushed her spirit with his absence. But all she saw was sincerity, vulnerability, and genuine remorse. Okay, she said slowly. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to go back to Seattle and handle whatever business you actually have there. We're going to take 2 weeks apart, no visits, no gifts, just phone calls every few days so Tyler can talk to you. Then, if you're serious about this, you come back and we start over, properly. Define properly. Dating. Like normal people. You take me to dinner. We have conversations. We figure out if we actually like each other as the people we are now, not who we were 6 years ago. And Tyler comes along sometimes. But this isn't about him. This is about whether you and I can build something real and healthy and equal. Marcus nodded, and Jennifer could see he was fighting back his own tears. I can do that. I will do that. And Marcus? She stepped closer, close enough to see the flecks of gold in his blue eyes. If you hurt me again, if you fall back into old patterns, if you choose work over showing up for what matters, I'm done. No second chances. No explanations. I'll protect myself and Tyler, and you'll be completely out of our lives. Do you understand? I understand, and I won't let you down. Either of you. They stood in the rain, years of hurt and hope suspended between them, until Jennifer finally reached out and took his hand. It was such a small gesture, but Marcus gripped her fingers like they were the most precious thing in the world. Go home, Marcus. Handle your business. And call Tyler on Thursday evening. He'll want to tell you about his school week. Thursday. I'll be there. He squeezed her hand once more before releasing it. Thank you, Jennifer, for giving me another chance. I won't waste it. As he walked away, Jennifer stood in the rain and let herself feel everything she'd been suppressing. Fear and hope tangled together, grief for what had been lost, and tentative excitement for what might be found. She thought about the girl she'd been at 24, marrying a charismatic businessman and thinking love would conquer all. She thought about the woman she'd become at 32, strong enough to stand alone, but brave enough to risk her heart again. Her phone buzzed. Melissa, her best friend, texting, "Got your message about the job? Drinks tonight to celebrate?" Jennifer smiled and texted back, "Drinks, yes. And I have so much to tell you." 3 months later, on a crisp February morning, Jennifer stood in the doorway of her new house on Maple Street, not the one Marcus had tried to buy for her, but a smaller, more modest home she'd purchased herself with a conventional mortgage from her new salary. It needed work. The kitchen was outdated. The backyard was overgrown. But it was hers. Hers and Tyler's. Marcus's truck was parked in the driveway, filled with furniture he'd insisted on contributing. Not expensive designer pieces, but practical items from local stores that Jennifer had chosen herself. He'd learned to ask, to offer, to accept when she said no. "Mom, Marcus is here," Tyler called from the front yard, where he was examining the overgrown garden with the critical eye of a budding paleontologist planning an excavation site. Marcus appeared carrying a box labeled "kitchen," his hair slightly disheveled, a smudge of dirt on his cheek. He looked nothing like the polished billionaire who'd walked into that bakery 4 months ago. He looked real, present, happy. "Where do you want this?" he asked, and Jennifer appreciated that he was asking instead of deciding for himself. "Counter, please. I'll start unpacking while you and Tyler tackle the disaster that is the garage." Over the past 3 months, they'd been taking it slow. Real dates where they talked about everything. His therapy sessions, her fears, their individual goals and dreams. Some evenings he'd join her and Tyler for dinner, helping with homework and bedtime stories. Other times he'd respect her need for space, for maintaining the independent life she'd built. He'd proven himself in small ways that mattered more than grand gestures. Showing up for Tyler's school play. Remembering Jennifer's coffee order without being told. Calling when he said he would. Supporting her business expansion without trying to take over. Being present. They weren't perfect. They still had arguments about boundaries. About his tendency to try to fix things with money. About her difficulty accepting help. But they were learning to fight fair. To listen. To compromise. "Mom?" Tyler appeared in the kitchen doorway. "Can Marcus stay for pizza tonight? We're having a house party, right?" Jennifer looked at Marcus, who was carefully not influencing Tyler's request, just waiting for her answer. "Yeah, honey, Marcus can stay." Tyler whooped and ran off to continue his garden exploration. Marcus crossed the kitchen and pulled Jennifer into a gentle kiss, still asking permission with his eyes before committing. "Thank you," he murmured against her lips. "For what?" "For this. For giving me a second chance. For letting me be part of this." He gestured around the modest kitchen, and she knew he wasn't talking about the house, but about the life, the family, the messy, beautiful reality of showing up every day. "You're earning it," Jennifer said honestly. "Every day, you're earning it." That evening, surrounded by moving boxes and eating pizza off paper plates, with Tyler chattering about his plans for the backyard and Marcus listening with genuine interest, Jennifer felt something she hadn't felt in years. Complete. Not because a man had rescued her, or because money had solved her problems, but because she'd been brave enough to risk her heart again, strong enough to demand what she deserved, and wise enough to recognize real change when she saw it. As Tyler fell asleep that night in his new bedroom, clutching his beloved Velociraptor toy, Marcus and Jennifer sat on the front porch watching the stars emerge. "I love you," Marcus said quietly. "I know I've said it before, but I want you to know I mean it differently now. Not the obsessive, possessive love I felt when we were married, but a love that wants you to flourish, that celebrates your strength, that shows up for the hard moments and the ordinary ones." Jennifer leaned her head on his shoulder. "I love you too. It scares me sometimes how much. But I'm learning to trust it, to trust you. I won't let you down. I know." And sitting there in the cool evening air, in front of the modest house she'd earned herself, with the man who'd learned to value presence over presence and partnership over power, Jennifer realized that sometimes the best endings weren't about dramatic revelations or fairy tale perfection. Sometimes they were about two imperfect people choosing each other again, but wiser this time, stronger, ready to build something real. 6 years after their divorce, she'd walked into a bakery with her son, unaware her ex-husband was inside. Now, 3 months later, she was walking into a future she'd built herself, with a partner who'd finally learned what it meant to truly show up for love. It wasn't the ending she'd imagined all those years ago when she'd walked out of his penthouse with nothing but a suitcase and her shattered heart. It was better, because this time, it was real. And real, Jennifer had learned, was worth more than any fairy tale.